And that kind of changed the trajectory, not directory. Hi everyone, my name is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading, and if you've seen my TBR game for June, you may know what the theme of this vlog is. I will link my TBR game for June somewhere up here, but the board spoke, and it was very loud in its wanting for me to read witchy books. It ended up putting 3 witchy books on my TBR, and my TBR was only 6 books. So it really wanted me to read witch books, and I figured, if that's what the board wants, then we will make a theme vlog about it and read all the witchy books the board picked for me in one video. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this vlog. The first one I'm going to be reading is The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. This follows Winnie. Winnie wants to join the rank of luminaries, who is an ancient order that fights the monsters that come out at night in this society. Winnie's family has been ostracized from the community since her father was found out to be a witch. And Winnie thinks that joining the luminaries will help get her family back on track. They've been kind of shunned, like I said, from the society, and she thinks this will help with that. I'm very excited to read this book. I've heard amazing things. It is the first in a series, but it's the only book that's out. So if I read this one, I will be caught up in the series, which is very exciting. Actually, I can say that about 2 books in this video, because another book the board put on that was a witchy book is the last book in a series. So we're going to not only be reading witchy books, but we're also going to be catching up or finishing a series, which is very exciting. I know this is only the first book in the series, but it's still catching up, and I'm still going to take it as a win. I will be back with you very, very shortly after I read some of The Luminaries. So I have finished The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. This was such a digestible book. I flew through this book, absolutely flew through it, and will definitely be continuing with the series. I ended up giving it 4 stars and really had a really fun time with this book. This book was a fun time. This follows Winnie, and Winnie's family has been basically ostracized from this group called the Luminaries. The Luminaries are a set of hunters that hunt the spirits that come alive at night, called nightmares. So basically what happens in all the world, but where Wednesday lives specifically, is at night the spirits that live in the woods fall asleep, they dream, and their nightmares are released into the woods and into the town and into the world. This set of hunters has to kill them. So they're killing hordes of vampires, sirens, banshees, werewolves, all the things. And Winnie's family has been ostracized because her dad was found out to be a witch, which is apparently the witches are kind of the enemy of the luminaries. Their banishment happened about 4 years prior, and now it's Winnie's birthday. And in the 16th year of any person's birthday, they can take the trial to become a luminary and become one of these hunters. Winnie goes to the trial without anyone really knowing she's going and starts the process into doing the other 2 trials to become a luminary. What this book has is Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibes. Like, this has so many Buffy vibes, which is probably why I loved it so much, because it really has some Buffy vibes. It really does. I had a great time with this. I read it so fast. We see Winnie go through all the trials to become a hunter, and we see whether she passes or fails, and how she passes and how she fails at different things. And we see that whole process. This book is the start of a series. The next book is not out yet, but there's still a lot of the story that we need to discover. There's a lot of things that are unanswered from the first book, and I'm assuming will be answered in book 2 or 3, or I have no idea how long this series is going to be, but I'm sure we'll find the answers soon enough. This is my first book by Susan Dennard. I haven't read the Truth Witch series yet. I own the Truth Witch series. It's on my shelves, but I haven't read it yet. And if this is what I come to expect of the digestibility of this author's writing, I'm very excited to pick up more. I honestly don't remember the last time I flew through a book so fast. I just kept blinking and being like, oh my gosh, I'm done the book. Like, it took me a matter of hours. It was so fast. And is this book perfect? No, that's why I gave it 4 stars. But it's a good time. I really enjoyed it. I love the nostalgia kind of Buffy-ness of it. And like I said, if I can run through a book that quickly and just keep digesting it and flipping the pages and excited to find out more, that's a good time and that's a good book, and that's what this was. The next book for this Timmy's TBR Chooses My Witchy vlog is The Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I'm very excited about this book. I've heard the atmosphere in this book is top tier. Absolutely top tier. And that's what I want from a witchy book, is awesome atmosphere. So let's dive into this one. This follows Emery, and when Emery was a teenager, her best friend was murdered. And that kind of changed the trajectory of her life. And her boyfriend, August, was actually accused of murdering her friend, Lily. Now, many, many years later, she is working at her family's business called the Blackwoods Tea Shop Herbal Tonics and Tea Leaf Reading. And magic in the air is starting to kind of do some odd things. And Emery knows that means something is coming. What is coming? Well, it's August. August comes back to town, and it upsets what everyone was starting to believe about Lily's murder, and they start looking into the truth behind Lily's murder. This was a book that as soon as it came out, I knew I wanted. When Indigo Books was having a 50% off sale at Christmas, this was a quick purchase for me to add to my pile of hardbacks that I was picking up that day, and I'm so excited to read it. I'm so excited. So I'm gonna leave you, and I'm gonna go read this. I can't wait to see what everyone has been talking about with this book. So many people read it over spooky season, and now I'm finally getting to enjoy all the witchy vibes. So I finished Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young, and I cannot say enough amazing things about this book. I finished this book on Neva's 24-hour sprints, and I was in the comments and I finished, and I just sat there and kind of like held the book and digested the book for like 30 minutes because I just loved it so very much. I love magical realism, and I don't read enough of the genre considering how much I always love the books when I read them. So if you have magical realism recommendations, please leave them down below, because every time I pick up a magical realism book, I'm in love with it. So I need to be reading more of this genre. So let me just kind of go into more about what this book is about now that I've read it, because the synopsis I gave was really just super small. This follows multiple points of view in the community of Saoirse, which is a tiny island off the coast of Seattle, and this island has magic. It follows the old ways where we use plants, and all the women in this community have some form of magic and are taught magic by their grandmothers. Emery is one of our main points of view, and the other one is August. All the other points of view we kind of see maybe once or twice. The main points of view in this book are Emery and August. Emery is about, I would say, in her 30s at this point, but when she was a teenager, her best friend Lily was found murdered, and her boyfriend August was accused of that murder. August left the island once he wasn't found innocent, but they didn't have enough evidence to like prosecute August. Everyone on this island still believes August murdered Lily, except for Emery. She does not believe that. But August's mother, once they stopped investigating August, packed him up and they left this island. However, Saoirse, which is the island, kind of has a way of calling back its own. The magic is on Saoirse. That is kind of who controls the magic. The island controls the magic. And now that August's mother has died, she has requested to be buried on the island. So August comes home to bury his mother and also kind of tie up some loose ends. They still own property on the island. He wants to sell it. He wants to leave Saoirse and never think about it again. However, he sees Emery, and a lot of old feelings certainly come back up for both of them. They had a very passionate teenage love, and still neither of them have really moved on from that. They had plans to leave the island when they turned 18, and obviously Lily's murder and everything that happened after that
spoils that plan, but they really reconnect while August is back on the island. We see, like I said, different points of view of people on the island, and we see how they all react to August coming back. We also eventually find out what happened to Lily and who was responsible for Lily's murder, as well as finding out that there may be more than one mystery going on this island. The writing in this book was gorgeous. I loved the writing. The atmosphere of this island that kind of controls the magic is amazing. And near the end of this book, the island has a chapter where it is its points of view and the island gets personified. And I mean, take my money. Take my money. I was sold. I was sold before that, but like, you personify this magical island. I was sold. I was done. I was like 5 stars. Five stars. I was already 5-starring this book before then, but like that pushed me right over the edge. The way this book ends, the very last paragraph of this book has like a tie-in to, again, the magic of this island, and I'm just 5 stars. 5 stars. Absolutely 5 stars. The atmosphere in this book, fantastic. Like I said, the magical realism in the writing in this book, I loved. The witchy vibes, everything about this, I loved. This really reminded me of Winterwood by Shane Earnshaw. I absolutely adored Winterwood by Shane Earnshaw. It was not my favorite book in the year that I read it because I read Strange the Dreamer in the same year, but I think it came in as number 2. And that was YA. This is adult. So in my mind, this is kind of like an adult version of that book. The story and plot line is different, but the vibes are very similar. And I did the same thing with Wilderwood. I finished Wilderwood and I just sat and processed for a while. And I've kind of always thought, I wish I could get that feeling and experience Wilderwood again. But obviously on reread, it doesn't hit the same as like the first time you experience a book. And I've always kind of wanted to experience that experience again. And I feel like I got that through this book. It was like a fresh way to tell a very similar atmospheric story. And I adored it. Plus it was adult. So that made it even better for me because 2 years ago when I read Wilderwood, I read more YA than I do now. I still read YA, but not as often. So the fact that this was adult made it work for my current reading tastes even better. This honestly could be a contender for my best books of the year. I understand that this probably isn't for everyone because if you don't like magical realism, you probably wouldn't like this book, but I do and I did. And as always, these are just my thoughts. So yeah. In my excitement to come talk about this book, I actually forgot to grab the next book for this vlog. So please hold while I go do that. So the last witchy book that Timmy's TBR picked for me was from a series spinner wheel pick. Timmy's TBR, I spun the wheel, and it picked the last book in the Cousin O'Dwyer series by Nora Roberts called Blood Magic. Like I said, this is the last book in a series, so I'm not going to tell you much about this book, but I will tell you what the series is about. So like 400 years ago, the family of the O'Dwyers fought a dark, dark power, and their great-great-great-great-grandmother fought this power and banished it mostly. There's still like an incorporeal form of this power still around. She passed away fighting this power, and her 3 children absorbed parts of her magic, and they became something like the power of 3, and each of them had an animal companion. Every generation in this family, the power of 3 is passed on to 3 people in the family, and so are the animal companions. We are now hundreds of years later and follow cousins and siblings. Brianna and Charlie are siblings and their cousin Iona, and they are the newest power of 3. They are determined to banish this dark power for the rest of eternity and finally finish this battle off. They have 3 friends who are helping them, and with these 3 friends, we have 3 romances and 3 books. So in all 3 books in the series, we see everybody together fighting against this power and doing that, but we also have romances for each book. So the first book was Iona and Boyle. The second book is Charlie's book, and for the life of me, I cannot think of who Charlie's female love interest was. Like, I know who she is, but the character name is escaping me. They'll be in this book, so once I start reading it and I get my memory jogged, I will remember. And the last book is Brana and Finn's book, which I am so excited about because it is a second chance romance. Brana and Finn dated as teenagers, and then they found out that Finn was actually a descendant of this dark power. Finn does not want to be evil. He has been helping them fight against his ancestor to rid the world of this, but it did cause them to break up. However, the chemistry that these two have in the first two books is fantastic. So I cannot wait to see their love interest and their coming back together in this book. Also, because this is the last book in the series, I'm assuming we're seeing like the end of this battle against this dark power who does have a name, but again, it's been a while since I read the first two books, so like I can't quite remember. I'll know more when I come back because I will be reminded of the two names that I am forgetting. But I'm expecting to see kind of like a conclusion to that storyline as well in this last book. I gave the first two books in the series 4 stars. Really enjoyed the witchy vibes of these books, and the romances were pretty good as well. So excited to finish a series because I don't do that very often. Lately on BookTube, I have been starting a lot of series and finishing none of them. I have read the first book of so many series and not continued. I plan on continuing, but I haven't, and my series spinner reel list is just getting longer and longer and longer and longer. So to finish one off is the perfect end to this vlog, and I'm so glad Timmies TBR has made me read witchy books because this vlog has been a great time. I've been having a really great time. I have finished Blood Magic. I finished it. Blood Magic by Nora Roberts, which means I have finished the Cousin O'Dwyer series. I finished a series. I feel so accomplished. Like I'm not good at finishing series. I never finish series. I'm not good at it. I start a lot. I don't finish them, but here we are. Go me. I did it. Thank you, series spinner wheel on the Timmies TBR wheel for forcing me to do this because I'm so glad I did. I'm going to give this 4 stars. It was almost a 3. So keep that in mind, but I think I am going to give it 4. This was a very slow start. The first 130 pages of this book was just really rehashing what we already knew from the first 2 books, especially with the Brana and Finn relationship. We knew that they were not wanting, they wanted to be together. They still have feelings for each other, but they can't because of this mark that he has because he's a descendant of Kaban, which is the dark power that I was talking about in the last clip and I couldn't remember the name. So now I know the name. It's Kaban. That went on for a very long time. And I was expecting them to kind of jump into the relationship a bit faster just because it has been built up so much in the first 2 books. Also, with the finishing of the Kaban storyline, that took a while to get started as well. And I even felt like it was a bit rushed at the end, to be honest. However, I did love how they wrapped it up. I obviously can't say anything about how the story was wrapped up and how they explained some of the things that happen with the people in their circle and how everyone is connected. There's a bigger picture to this group that I actually didn't foresee happening, and that's all I'm going to say about it because I can't talk about it because it would spoil a lot of these books. So I'm not going to speak about it, but I did really enjoy that aspect of this book. And I did like how it ended. I just wish it wouldn't have been so rushed. So I'm of 2 minds, but I think for a final book, I'm going to give it 4 stars because I am happy with how it ended. And I did enjoy my time with it, especially once it got started. So 4 stars, but like on the low end of 4, if that makes any sense at all. I wish I could talk more about this book because, you know, I want to give you a better update. I've only been talking for like 2 minutes. But since it's the last book in a series, there's really not much I can say, to be honest. Like, there's really not much I can say. I did love the witchy vibes and the spells in here. I love hearing them read the spells. I did this with the audiobook, and I believe this is the first one in the series that I've done with the audiobook. And everyone is set in Ireland. The only one who isn't Irish in this book is Iona, who traveled from America.
So I actually really appreciated doing this on audio because it helped me with a lot of the names of the places and things going on, because I was saying a lot of the names wrong in my head. Who knew? But I definitely was. Just because it's Irish names and I don't speak the Irish alphabet fluently by any stretch of the imagination. Anyway, I did enjoy the audiobook for this because it was done very well. And hearing them do all their spells and the atmosphere of that was really fun and really added to my enjoyment of this book. So that's how I got to a 4-star rating. I wish I could talk more about the specifics of this book, but where it's the last book, I obviously can't do that. Anyway, I think overall, I forgot to look. If I'm wrong, I'll put something here, but I'm pretty sure I gave all 3 books 4 stars. But I will say, I think the strongest book in the series is book 1. That is, in my opinion, the strongest book in the series. The other 2 are probably, like I said, if I've either given them, the middle book I might have given 3 stars. I don't remember. I will put it here if I did. We'll assume I gave it 4. But they were both low 4 stars, and the other one was more like a solid 4. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling nonsense at you, but hopefully you're following. Anyway, that is the end of this vlog. Timmy's TBR really wanted me to read witchy books, and here we are. I have read 3. All 3 that Timmy's TBR put on my TBR, and we've had a fairly successful vlog. 2 4 stars and a 5-star, with Spells of Forgetting probably going to be one of my top books of the year. I really love that book. Thank you so much for watching this vlog. If you're not feeling super chatty down in the comments, feel free to just leave the witch emoji. That seems pretty appropriate for this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.